The first sign was a text message. "Dad, did you change the password on your credit card account? Mark can't log in. He says it's urgent." I stared at my phone, the words blurring. My daughter, Anna, had always been the peacekeeper in our family. She hated conflict, always tried to smooth things over. But lately, her messages had grown more anxious, more desperate, and every time, it was about Mark, her husband, my son-in-law. If you enjoy powerful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. I took a deep breath, my fingers hovering over the screen. I'd changed the password 2 days ago after noticing a string of unfamiliar charges, expensive dinners, electronics, even a hotel room in a city none of us lived in. I'd called the bank, locked the account, and decided to wait. I wanted to see who would reach out first. It didn't take long. Anna called that evening, her voice tight. "Dad, Mark says he can't pay for the groceries. The card keeps getting declined." "Did you do something?" I kept my tone calm. "I changed the password. There were some charges I didn't recognize." She hesitated. "Mark said you gave him permission. He's been using it for months." I felt a cold anger settle in my chest. "I never gave him permission, Anna. That card is for emergencies, not for shopping sprees." There was a long silence. I could hear Mark in the background, his voice rising. "Tell him to fix it. I need that card." Anna's voice dropped to a whisper. "Dad, please. Can you just unlock it, for me?" I closed my eyes, remembering all the times I'd bailed them out, covering rent, paying for car repairs, even helping with their wedding. I'd always told myself it was for Anna, that Mark would come around, but now I wasn't so sure. "I'll think about it," I said, and hung up. That night, I logged into my account and printed out every statement from the past year. The numbers didn't lie. Mark had spent thousands on things Anna never mentioned, in places she'd never been. The next morning, Mark showed up at my house. He didn't bother knocking, just barged in, his face red with anger. "What the hell, old man? You changed the password without telling me?" I stood my ground. "It's my account, my money. You never asked." He sneered. "Anna said you'd help us. You always do. What's the problem now?" I handed him the stack of statements. "You want to explain these? The hotel in Chicago, the jewelry store, the bar tabs." He glanced at the papers, his bravado faltering. "It's not what you think. I was helping a friend." I shook my head. "You've been using me, Mark. That ends now." He slammed his fist on the table. "You're going to regret this. Anna will never forgive you." I met his gaze, steady and unafraid. Maybe it's time she knew the truth. Mark stormed out, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled on the wall. I stood in the quiet, my heart pounding, the stack of statements still in my hand. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a cup of coffee, and sat at the table, staring at the numbers. Every charge was a story. A dinner I hadn't eaten, a gift I hadn't given, a night in a hotel I'd never seen. I thought about Anna, about the little girl who used to sit on my lap and beg for one more bedtime story. I remembered her wedding day, the way she'd looked at Mark with hope and trust. I wondered when that hope had started to fade. The phone rang. It was Anna again, her voice trembling. "Dad, what happened? Mark said you accused him of stealing." I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "Anna, I didn't accuse him. I showed him the facts. There are charges on my card that I never approved. Thousands of dollars, Anna. I can't ignore it anymore." She was silent for a long time. I could hear her breathing. The sound shaky and uncertain. "He said it was for us. For the house, for the kids." I closed my eyes, pain twisting in my chest. "Anna, I know what groceries cost. I know what a hotel in Chicago costs. I know what a diamond bracelet costs. These aren't for you or the kids." She started to cry. "Dad, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm losing everything." I wanted to reach through the phone and hold her, to make it all better. But I knew I couldn't fix this for her. Not this time. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in my study, the statements spread out before me, the numbers blurring together. I thought about calling the police, about pressing charges, but I couldn't do it. Not yet. Not to Anna. Instead, I started digging. I searched Mark's social media, looking for clues. I found photos of him at expensive restaurants, at bars with friends I'd never met. There were pictures of him with a woman I didn't recognize, blonde, laughing, her hand on his arm. I clicked through her profile. Her name was Vanessa. She posted about her Mark, about weekend getaways, about gifts and surprises. My stomach turned as I realized where my money had gone. I printed out the photos, adding them to the growing pile of evidence. I knew what I had to do. Anna deserved the truth, no matter how much it hurt. The next morning, I called Anna and asked her to come over. She arrived alone, her eyes red, her shoulders slumped. I made her tea, sat her at the kitchen table, and laid out the statements, the photos, the messages. She stared at them, her hands shaking. I don't understand. Why would he do this? I reached across the table, taking her hand, because he could, because he thought you'd never find out, because he thought I'd never say no. She started to cry, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. What do I do, Dad? I squeezed her hand. You decide what kind of life you want. You decide what you're willing to forgive. But you don't have to do it alone. Just then, Mark burst through the door, his face twisted with rage. You think you can turn her against me? You think you can ruin my life? I stood, my voice calm and steady. You did that yourself, Mark. Now it's time to face the consequences. Anna stood too, her voice trembling but strong. Mark, I saw the photos, I saw the charges, I know about Vanessa. He froze, his bravado crumbling. It's not what you think, she's just a friend. Anna shook her head, tears streaming down her face. No more lies. I want you out. Now. Mark glared at me, then at Anna. You'll regret this. Both of you. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The house was silent, the only sound Anna's quiet sobs. Aisha held her, rocking her like I had when she was a child. You're stronger than you think, Anna. You'll get through this. That night I changed every password, closed every account, and called the bank to report the fraud. I filed a police report, giving them everything I'd found. I knew it would get ugly, but I was done being used. The next morning, the house was eerily quiet. Anna slept in the guest room, her face pale and drawn. I made her breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast and coffee, just the way she liked it as a girl. She barely touched her food, staring at the table, lost in thought. I sat across from her, waiting. Finally she spoke. What happens now, Dad? I reached for her hand. Now you heal. Now you take your life back. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I feel so stupid. How could I not see it? I shook my head. You trusted him. That's not stupid. That's love. But now you know, and you're stronger for it. The phone rang. It was the bank confirming that all accounts had been frozen and that the fraud investigation was underway. I thanked them, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. Just as I hung up, there was a loud banging at the door. I opened it to find Mark, flanked by 2 police officers. He smirked. I'm here to collect my things, and I want to make it clear. If you try to keep anything that's mine, I'll press charges. The officers watched as Mark stormed through the house, grabbing clothes, electronics, and a box of old photos. Anna stood in the hallway, arms crossed, her face set in stone. Mark tried to take the TV. I stepped between him and the wall. That stays. He glared at me, but the officers shook their heads. Let's keep this civil, Mr. Turner. He muttered curses under his breath, but he left, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. Anna collapsed onto the couch, tears streaming down her face. I can't believe it's over. I sat beside her, putting my arm around her shoulders. It's not over. It's a new beginning. That afternoon, Anna, as phone buzzed, it was a message from Vanessa, the woman from the photos. I'm sorry, I didn't know he was married. He told me you were separated. If you want to talk, I'm here. Anna stared at the screen, her hands shaking. Should I reply? I nodded. You deserve the truth. All of it. Anna called Vanessa. The conversation was awkward at first, but soon the truth spilled out. Mark had told Vanessa he was single, that Anna was just a roommate. He'd spent weekends with her, bought her gifts with my money, and even talked about starting a new life together. Anna listened in silence, her face growing paler with every word. When she hung up, she looked at me, her eyes blazing. He lied to everyone, not just me. I nodded. That's what people like him do, but now he can't hurt you anymore. The next day, Mark's lawyer called. He threatened to sue for emotional distress and demanded that Anna return all the gifts Mark had ever given her. I laughed, the sound bitter. Tell him to try. We have all the evidence we need. The police investigation moved quickly. The evidence was overwhelming. Fraudulent charges, false statements, and a trail of deceit that stretched back years. Mark was arrested, charged with credit card fraud and identity theft. Anna and I attended the hearing. Mark glared at us from across the courtroom, his bravado gone. Vanessa testified, her voice steady and clear. The judge listened, her face stern. When the verdict came, it was swift and final. Mark was found guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to prison, his reputation destroyed. After the trial, Anna hugged me, tears of relief streaming down her face. Thank you, Dad, for everything. I held her close, my own eyes wet. You saved yourself, Anna. I just helped you see the truth. The days after the trial felt like waking up from a long, bad dream. Anna moved back in with me for a while, her things stacked in the guest room, her laughter slowly returning. I made her breakfast every morning, just like when she was a child, scrambled eggs, toast, and a mug of coffee with too much sugar. We spent our evenings talking, sometimes in words, sometimes in silence. She told me about the little things Mark had done, how he'd made her feel small, how he'd twisted her love into guilt, how he'd always found a way to make her doubt herself. I listened, my heart aching, wishing I could have protected her from all of it. One afternoon, Anna found an old photo album in the attic. We sat together on the living room floor, flipping through the pages. There were pictures of her as a baby, her first day of school, her high school graduation. She smiled at the memories, but I saw the sadness in her eyes. I used to think life would always be simple, she said quietly. I never thought I'd end up here. I squeezed her hand. You're stronger than you know, Anna. You survived. That's what matters. A week later, Anna received a letter from Mark's lawyer. He was contesting the divorce, demanding half of everything she owned, including the house, the car, and even her grandmother's wedding ring. Anna's hands shook as she read the letter. "He just won't let go, will he?" I took the letter, my jaw set. He's desperate. But we're not going to let him win. We met with Tom, our lawyer, in his small, cluttered office. He reviewed the letter, his brow furrowed. He doesn't have a case. The evidence from the trial is overwhelming, but he'll drag this out as long as he can, hoping you'll give in. Anna nodded, determination in her eyes. "I'm not giving him anything, not after what he did." Tom smiled. "That's the spirit. We'll fight him every step of the way, the next 4. Our months were a blur of court dates, paperwork, and tense phone calls. Mark tried every trick in the book, accusing Anna of hiding assets, claiming she'd manipulated him, even trying to turn Vanessa against her. But Vanessa stood by Anna, testifying to Mark's lies and manipulation. One evening, as Anna and I sat on the porch, she received a text from an unknown number. "You think you've won, but this isn't over. I'll ruin you both." She showed me the message, her face pale. "Do you think it's Mark?" I nodded. "He's desperate, but he can't hurt us anymore." The final hearing arrived. The courtroom was tense, every seat filled. Mark looked gaunt, his eyes hollow. Anna sat beside me, her back straight, her chin high. Tom presented the evidence, bank statements, text messages, Vanessa's testimony. Mark's lawyer tried to object, but the judge shut him down. When the verdict came, it was swift and final. Anna was granted the house, the car, and full ownership of her grandmother's ring. Mark was ordered to pay restitution for the stolen money and was denied any claim to Anna's assets. Anna wept with relief, hugging me tightly. "It's over, Dad. It's finally over." I held her close, my own tears falling. "You did it, Anna. You took your life back." As we left the courthouse, Mark glared at us from across the parking lot. His voice was a low growl. "You'll regret this. Both of you." I met his gaze, calm and unafraid. "No, Mark. You're the only one who lost everything." Life slowly returned to normal. Anna found a new job, made new friends, and started dating again. She laughed more, slept better, and rediscovered the joy she'd lost. I watched her grow, proud and grateful. I knew the scars would never fully fade, but I also knew she was stronger than ever. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, Anna turned to me. "Thank you, Dad, for believing in me, or fighting for me." I smiled, my heart full. That's what fathers do. The weeks after the final hearing felt like a new beginning. Anna moved into her own apartment, a cozy place with sunlit windows and a tiny balcony where she grew herbs and flowers. I helped her paint the walls, hang curtains, and build bookshelves. Each nail we hammered, each box we unpacked, felt like a small victory over the darkness Mark had brought into her life. We celebrated her freedom with a quiet dinner, just the two of us, candles flickering, laughter echoing off the walls. Anna toasted to new beginnings, her eyes shining with hope. To the future, Dad, and to never letting anyone steal our peace again. I smiled, pride swelling in my chest. To the future, sweetheart, and to your strength. But Mark wasn't finished. One evening, as I left Anna's apartment, I found a note tucked under my windshield wiper. "You think you've won, But I know things about you, old man. Secrets. Watch your back." I crumpled the note, my hand steady. I refused to let fear take root again. The next day, I received a call from Tom, our lawyer. "Mark's trying to dig up dirt on you. He's contacted your old employer, your neighbors, even your ex-wife. He's desperate, but there's nothing to find." I thanked Tom, but the old anxiety crept in. I spent the night replaying every decision I'd ever made, every mistake, every regret. But as the sun rose, I realized something important. I had nothing to hide. My life was an open book, and Mark's threats were empty. Anna called that morning, her voice cheerful. "Dad, I got the job. They want me to start next week." I cheered, relief flooding through me. "That's wonderful, Anna. I'm so proud of you." She laughed, the sound light and free. "I couldn't have done it without you." A week later, Anna invited me to dinner at her new place. As I arrived, I saw a familiar car parked across the street, Mark's. He sat behind the wheel, watching the building, his face shadowed and tense. I called the police, reporting the harassment. They arrived quickly, questioning Mark and warning him to stay away. He glared at me as they led him away, but I saw the fear in his eyes. His power was gone. Inside, Anna hugged me tightly. "He can't hurt us anymore, Dad. I feel safe for the first time in years." We ate dinner, sharing stories and dreams for the future. Anna talked about her new job, her plans to travel, her hope to one day start a family of her own. I listened, my heart full, knowing that the worst was behind us. That night, as I drove home, I thought about everything we'd survived. The lies, the betrayal, the fear. I realized that revenge isn't always about getting even. Sometimes it's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, your peace. A month later, Anna called with news. Mark had been arrested again, this time for fraud at his new job. The evidence was overwhelming, and he was facing years in prison. Anna's voice was calm. "I almost feel sorry for him, Dad, but I know I'm better off without him." I nodded, pride and relief mingling in my chest. "You are, Anna. You always were." The years passed. Anna thrived in her career, made new friends, and eventually met someone kind and honest. She married again, this time in a small ceremony filled with laughter and love. I walked her down the aisle, my heart bursting with pride. Mark faded into the past, a shadow we no longer feared. Our family grew stronger, closer, and more resilient. We celebrated every holiday, every birthday, every small victory, grateful for the peace we'd fought so hard to win. One evening, as Anna and I sat on her balcony, watching the sunset, she turned to me. "Thank you, Dad, for everything. For saving me from him, for teaching me to stand up for myself." I smiled, tears in my eyes. "You saved yourself, Anna. I just gave you the chance." Later, the sky turned gold, the world quiet and safe. I knew then that our story was one of survival, of courage, of love that refused to be broken. The years after Mark's downfall were quieter, but never dull. Anna flourished in her new life, and I found a peace I hadn't known in decades. But every so often, a memory would surface, a slammed door, a trembling hand, a whispered threat. And I'd remember just how close we'd come to losing everything. One spring afternoon, Anna invited me to her new home for dinner. The apartment was filled with sunlight and the scent of fresh flowers. She greeted me at the door, her smile genuine, her eyes bright. "Come in, Dad. I made your favorite chicken pot pie." We sat at the table, laughter and conversation flowing easily. Anna told me about her new job, her friends, her plans to travel. I listened, pride swelling in my chest. She was happy. She was free. After dinner, we sat on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker to life. Anna grew quiet, her gaze distant. "Do you ever think about him?" she asked softly. I nodded. "Sometimes, but not with anger, not anymore." She looked at me, her eyes searching. "How did you forgive him?" I thought for a long moment. I realized that holding on to anger only hurt me. He took enough from us. I wasn't going to let him take my peace too. Anna smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "You're stronger than you know, Dad." A few weeks later, Anna called with news. She'd met someone, kind, honest, and gentle. She wanted me to meet him. I agreed, my heart pounding with hope and fear. The dinner was simple, but the conversation was easy. Anna's new partner, Ben, was everything Mark wasn't. Attentive, respectful, and genuinely interested in her happiness. I watched them together, relief washing over me. After Ben left, Anna hugged me tightly. "Thank you for teaching me what real love looks like." One evening, as I walked home from Anna's, I passed the old courthouse. The lights were on, the halls empty. I paused, remembering the day we'd faced Mark, the fear and uncertainty, the courage it took to stand up for what was right. I realized then that revenge isn't always about retribution. Sometimes it's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, your future. Sometimes it's about teaching the next generation to demand respect, to set boundaries, to never settle for less than they deserve. A year later, Anna married Ben in a small ceremony in the park. I walked her down the aisle, my heart full. As she said her vows, I saw the strength in her eyes, the confidence in her voice. She was no longer the frightened woman Mark had tried to break. She was whole, and she was loved. After the ceremony, Anna pulled me aside. "I want you to know, Dad, that I wouldn't be here without you. You saved me." I hugged her, my voice thick with emotion. "You saved yourself, Anna. I just gave you the chance." The years passed, and our family grew. Anna and Ben had a daughter, and I became a grandfather. I told her stories, taught her to ride a bike, and watched her grow into a strong, kind, and fearless young woman. Every Thanksgiving, Anna and I would sit together, remembering the past, grateful for the present. We'd raise a glass to new beginnings, to lessons learned, to the power of truth and love. And every time I saw Anna smile, I knew that the greatest revenge wasn't destroying Mark. It was building a life so full of joy, hope, and dignity that his memory faded into nothing.